studio and Dr. Ishita Hajare. And I would like to introduce my colleague. You must have heard of a sommelier, a winemaker, a wine grower, but have you ever heard of a wine doctor? Coming from background in dentistry, she has now traveled through Europe, learning about wine, learning how to make it, sell it, grow it, and she's also a class fellow of mine. And I've shared so many memorable experiences with her, and not just specifically about wine, but also about life. And she's creating something amazing, which I can't wait to explore with y'all. So let's get straight into it. And one of the best things that I really wanted to appreciate is that wine as an industry needs people from different job sectors as well. And I realized the importance of diversity after actually having met you. So, welcome to my podcast, Ishita. I'm so happy to be able to host you today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this chance. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
And how's life back in Nagpur?
Life's good, but I'm ready to leave. I'm done. I'm done, actually. I'm so ready to leave right now.
It must have been such an intense experience because you were also doing your thesis project there, and are you still continuing with your project?
I'm working on the patent and other legal formalities.
Okay.
That's what I'm currently working on right now. Cool, cool.
So the reason I brought this up was specifically is I just want to get straight into the diversity aspect of it, and I will get a chance to talk about how you entered the industry later. But can wine really make dental medicine? It's still a surprising story. So do tell us, how did you come to learn about this concept on how polyphenols in wine can make gum inflammation ointment, and how you entered into the wine industry and what was your journey like?
So it's all related. So I'm just going to start how I just had my first encounter with wine, and we'll
Absolutely.
take it from there. So
Sure.
it really is a surprising story, and in a way, it started by a complete accident. Okay, so my first introduction to wine when I was about 14 years old at a New Year's party, and I didn't even know what was there in the glass. And I drank it, and I was like, I like this thing. It was white in there, and I like this thing. So that moment sparked a curiosity. But like most childhood curiosities, it got buried as I grew up and moved on with life. So years later, during my second year of dental school, I came across an article about Sovna Puri. So she was the future 50 awards winner, only Indian to receive that.
Wow, congratulations to ma'am.
So, yeah. So, and she belonged to my hometown. So, reading her journey was the final nudge that I needed. It made
Wow,
me think,
absolutely.
yeah. So, it kind of made me think that if she could build a career in wine, why couldn't I? The only catch was I was deep into the dental school. So, I began wondering if there was a way to connect these two worlds instead of just choosing one over the other. That's when the science came in. I started researching and found a pioneering study showing that certain compounds in grapes and wines, mainly polyphenols like resveratrol and grapeseed proanthocyanidins, have anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and antioxidant properties. And some lab studies and small clinical trials suggest that they help in reducing the bacteria and inflammatory pathways involved in
Mm-hmm.
the gum diseases like gingivitis and periodontitis. So that discovery changed everything for me.
Oh, wow.
Wine stopped being just a drink and became a serious aspect of scientific inquiry. So
Wow, that's amazing.
so from there, it actually felt very natural. Curiosity turned into research, research into education, and eventually that led me to wine industry. So it just feels like all the dots connected exactly when they was So back then it was like I was just researching. I just had
Okay.
the idea, but I didn't have the infrastructure or correct guidance on how I can make this. And
Hmm.
it was just like, okay, let's keep this idea for now and let's study wine for a bit. So when I was doing my internship after I finished my studies, I decided to give my WSET level in 1 and 2.
Okay.
And that was like, wow, now I know what wine is and now I know how can
Okay.
I do this. So I thought, okay, now I can go into a wine course and put it on my thesis
Mm-hmm.
and actually find a
Absolutely.
way to work on it because it was my brainchild. It is my child.
So, how did you manage going to dental school and learning about wine and developing this medicine of yours?
So back then it was just an idea because I was researching and I didn't know, I didn't have the infrastructure to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever I talked to, they were like, "Oh, but I don't know if this is possible, or I don't know how we can do it," or like I was getting no guidance whatsoever. The amount of doors that have been closed on my face when I came up with the idea, I was like, I'm not giving this up. This is my child.
Yeah,
And
I
I
can
finished my dental
imagine,
school.
like even in a country like India too, and with alcohol, it's being a
Yeah.
taboo topic
It's a
sometimes.
taboo.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
still there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of judgment and there's misguidance because growing up you watch films, and even in films like Dil Chahta Hai you have you have Akshay Khanna's love interest, who's Twinkle Khanna, and she is shown as a divorcee who's an alcoholic constantly drinking wine, and the just general imagery, or you need to have so much money, or only rich people are wealthy enough to
Yeah.
enjoy wine. But I mean, Telangana has a very strong drinking culture. Like every Dashera and every Prithu it's like, the men and women are celebrating in their own ways, but it's like local Desi Daru. And so it's interesting that almost even Maharashtra has Pahua and Mahua. There's so many Indian spirit gins coming up. And it's still a unique, concept that people are still coming about. And I'm sure we had Somras, and there's so much of history within our own culture. But it's just that there's so much anti uh, antagonistic ideologies around wine. And even when I was entering the hotel industry in the beginning, people were like, oh, why is she going into that industry? Like
Yeah.
it's so looked down upon, and it's just that the lack of information is quite terrible. And I also did not have the right tools or guidance to be able to navigate through this, and it seemed like only one path was the way to lead. And I'm glad, after having met you, that you also face similar challenges despite being from a completely different industry, but who was interested in wine. So,
Yeah.
do tell us, how did you connect your way into wine, and how was that like?
So I just started looking for the certifications when I was
Okay.
starting, and like what is the basic that I can start from? Like
Mm-hmm.
what's the line I can get into? And then I found about WSETs, and
Okay.
then I convinced my parents for 2 years
Oh
of
my God, yes, the convincing.
there's a lot of fielding required, a lot of groundwork. But yeah, eventually they let me do it in my internship. Like, let's see what happens, sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And during my internship, I gave my level one and two with Sobna ma'am. So I was very inspired by her, and I just went to her, and she was already taking these levels in India. And I was like, okay, to meet my inspiration and learn for her, that was a new achievement that had unlocked for me. Like, I didn't know
Absolutely.
what it meant, but it was inspiring for me to learn from her, like, to be there because that was the person I took motivation from, inspiration.
Exactly, and both of you have similarities. Both of you are from Nagpur.
Yeah. So it kind of it hits home, right? So
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think, I mean, I also wish I had someone from Hyderabad to look up to, but maybe someone in the future
yeah.
might be able to say that, oh, she is also from my city.
Maybe someone will look up to you and relate to you. Oh, this is the person. This is my
But I
person.
think it's important for people who take unexplored paths. The thing that most people don't realize is that the psyche behind the Indian education system is that we need stability, we need to predict failures. But failures are so unpredictable, and especially in a career like this, or in an industry like this, where you have no adequate information, you are not sure of what exactly is the cost of failure, and how are you going to recuperate. Like, for example, if I did engineering and I didn't like it and I want to go into corporate, I can go to MBA. That is something that's a route people can take, because they now have information and they see that it's a stable career. But career stability has gone out of the window, bro. Like, you need to be flexible, you need to be adaptable, you need to change according to the environment. Technology is changing so much. So, and especially in a path like ours, it's hard to explain to your parents and your family and your relatives that you still are thriving, you are happy, you are succeeding, but it is just because they don't understand it, it's difficult while you're trying to understand it yourself and then teach them to and educate them to.
Yeah.
And this is the reason I started Da Vinci Code, was to bridge perceptions of multiple industries and how wine can really change. And after meeting you, I really was so floored by the diversity and openness and acceptance of our industry. And I would like to lead this on to my next question, that India is still far behind wine in general, just as a consumption and as a product. So even to think about wine-based cosmetics or pharmaceutical drugs still feels like a century away. So, what do you think that can be done within our current wine industry? How was it for you before you entered the wine industry? What were your opinions? And then what were your opinions after you entered it?
So we'll start with before entering the wine industry, I thought of wine as the luxury product. I really had that snobbish view of the wine. Cultural, social, a bit romantic, but for the rich people, for the higher profile people, just at those kind of parties that we'll never attend kind of people. Now I see wine as an incredibly complex interaction of agriculture, chemistry, microbiology, medicine, economics, and culture. So I see it as the product where tradition and cutting edge science coexist seamlessly now. So my respect for the industry has grown enormously.
And I'm glad, and I'm really glad.
And in the market, when you like in a grocery store or in a pharmacy, when
Mm-hmm.
you look on the shelves, you see wine-based product and wine-based mask and red wine-based this. And I literally look at what's the content and it's everything but the wine. And I'm like, what are you doing? So that also inspired me to use actual wine in my product.
True, to actually use proper organic compounds naturally
Yeah,
present within grape seeds and
and the
grapes
wine.
and the fruit itself. Wine did start as medieval medicine, like
Yeah,
it started off as monks preparing it as an ailment, and then it was a discovery by mistake that it
yeah.
started fermenting and it started inculcating alcohol, and then it became a drink to enjoy. And even to a point, the tradition of cheers, it was meant to be so strong that your beverage is supposed to go into the other person's beverage almost, and it's an
Yeah,
exchange. And it was a little trick back in the medieval days, where kings,
yeah.
if they had any visitors and if they wanted to know their drinks were poisoned, the
Oh my
color would
God.
change, because
Yeah,
obviously they didn't have the technology of preservating and
exactly.
the shelf life of the product. And going from a fruit juice to a medicinal ale, and then to wine, to now a luxury product, it's quite evolving. And it is still evolving, that we're now able to derive cosmetics and pharmaceutical drugs, hopefully, which are beneficial for healthcare.
But
How was the experience of finding a master's? Like, what gave you the inspiration to dedicate time and money, and walk away from a successfully established career like dentistry, especially in a country like India, where it's known for doctors, and then to go into the master vintage program? Like, how did that decision making happen?
so I knew I didn't want to do dentistry.
Okay.
I was very clear on that. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I know wine
Right.
was there somewhere in the back of my mind, but during my second year, third year, it got
Yeah.
clearer. And then I was like, yes, it's wine. I know it's wine. And then I just chose because I wanted to have good food, I wanted to drink good, and I just wanted to travel.
Wow.
And that's why wine made sense. It allowed me to do all of it. And in dentistry, it was like since my parents are dentists, everyone in the industry pretty much knew me. So everything was either handed on silver platter or it was expected that I know everything or I
Mm.
was in touch. So I just wanted to get away from that kind of,
The
thought.
world of privilege is actually quite a golden cage, let's say.
Yeah. So it had its pros and cons. So I was like, I wanted to
Absolutely.
do something that's my own, that belonged to me,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm not handed out, but it's just my hard work and my blood and my sweat, and see where it goes. And if nothing else works, like 10 years down the line, 20
Wow,
years
to
down
unlearn everything that you've been conditioned to believe is success, and then to, unpack that and then go to a completely different continent entirely. And I think I remember you saying that I've never even stepped out of Nagpur, and the longest I've gone is Mumbai for my W set. And then to be able to, completely step out directly, leaving Nagpur straight to Villarreal in Portugal.
yeah, I
Nantes
knew
is where we
nothing.
met. Uh,
I
so
knew
Nagpur
nothing
to
about
Nantes
growing
was
my
an
own wine.
entire.
So it was the immersion. We lived through the vintages from making the vineyard decisions to the
Absolutely.
fermentation and blending. That was invaluable. It wasn't just theoretical, it was physical, it was sensory, it was deeply practical.
Yeah.
And what made it more special was the every weekend that we visited to two or three wineries and
Absolutely. It wasn't just
constantly
like a week
meeting
long
the
field trip, but we were
yeah.
constantly engaging, and there were multiple ways of learning.
Yeah, so we were meeting the winemakers, we were walking the vineyards, we were tasting the wines in the place of origin. It really helped to connect with what we were studying in the theory, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the international cohort, obviously, like we were
Yeah.
moving around and we were learning from people from different wine culture, and it kind of challenged my perspective and it broadened my understanding of how wine is made and how it's valued around the world. So it's a you
Your
get to
14-year-old
learn
year
so
old would
many
have been
things.
like blown away, the 14-year-old you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite amazing to see that someone having no idea and coming from like such an established figured out profession to then actively proactively rather pursue something and pursue her passion. And that's why I wanted to share your story, because it's so important for people to realize that labels, certifications, hobbies, I mean, yes, they do give you a sense of identity, but it's the constant doing and the constant efforts beyond that. And speaking of efforts, you were doing a very intense thesis topic, and I'm sure completely developing an entirely new pharmaceutical drug, trying to make the wine industry understand that this is possible, trying to make the medical industry understand that this is possible, and bridging those two industries together. Could you like, and even as an international student, navigating a French thesis in an Indian research institute, how were the logistics of that? And
Our first 3 semesters in Europe gave me a very strong theoretical foundation, structured
mm-hmm,
framework, and exposure to international standards.
mm-hmm,
And when it came to executing my thesis, I felt India was the right choice because my topic was a relatively new concept. And
mm,
there was also a language gap to consider.
true,
I cannot make these people understand what I'm trying to do in French or in Italian or Portuguese for that matter, because
absolutely, I
it's
agree.
just difficult for people to understand in English here, like what I'm doing. They're still very new to the
True,
concept,
true.
right? So there was gap to consider, and in India the work culture was more flexible, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just need to be more resourceful, and not everything is readily available, so you just
True.
improvise, and it pushes you to solve the problem creatively. Mentorship was very hands-on and accessible, so it
And I also
just
think
got me
that
to
I would like to also add on that since Europe as a continent, or around the world, like places like Chile, South America, Australia, America, US, Canada, they are already established industries around wine. So perhaps you might have actually faced a lot more obstacles when you wanted to pursue this, or maybe openness, we don't know. But having uh, basically that wine has a reputation, an existing reputation in terms of consumers, let's say, and the general psyche around it. But India, I think the positive side of it is that the lack of awareness, in fact, actually, broadens more avenues for you, and you are able to have that flexibility to kind of improvise and to go build as you go, and you can, and your core strengths and your theories, so you're able to actually test and apply. I remember you sending pictures and you were like, okay, so this is spoiled wine, this is it. And like, it seems so cool, the interesting. You felt like to actually be like a mad scientist, getting
yeah.
everything done and the paperwork. Like, I can't even imagine. How did you cope through all of it? Like,
I had amazing mentors, like my guides, my co-guides, they were there. Like they would stay with me from 8 in the morning to 8 in the night while the university ended at 5, and we were like, okay, no, but we are staying, we are finishing this today. And
wow.
there were anti-inflammatory tests
Okay.
that, like one test that we couldn't find the results, like I couldn't get what I wanted, and I
Mm-hmm.
like performed that test day and night for 2 months
Oh, wow.
just to get the results.
Oh my God. I mean, it's
Supervising
incredible.
reading, and so it was only possible because I had those kind of people and the
Mm.
infrastructure that I got here.
And I'm so happy that they believed in your passion and your vision,
Mhm.
because everybody thinks that success is overnight, but nobody really knows the amount below the tip of the iceberg, under the ocean, of what it's taking. And gosh, and even our thesis structure was so like, rigid. During your research with existing varieties already known, did you find scope for perhaps using Indian grape varieties too? Did you think that this kind of formula that you're curating, is it possible to relate it to Indian varieties? Maybe perhaps the Indian skin, like usually the saying is what grows together goes together. So I was just curious if there was potential to expand,
No,
sourcing
so
of grapes with local varieties as well.
I'm gonna I'm gonna be honest here. So I was gonna choose Indian grapes, but my mentors thought, or my supervisors thought, that it would be better to just get what is available. Like we know that India,
Mm-hmm.
Nashik grows French varieties, so we'll just go with
Mm-hmm.
that, and we'll choose the grapes with high polyphenolic content. So it's not just any grape.
Right.
Grapes with high polyphenolic content can work because that's where the activities are coming from, the antimicrobial, the anti-inflammatory. The grape with
Mm.
high polyphenolic content should work. It's not a variety specific thing, is what I have discovered.
Okay, and also I think the fact that, I mean, to have wine grapes specifically, like those people who perhaps are still new and listening in, like everything else, in any kinds of agriculture or fruticulture, let's say, there are grapes grown for eating, and then there are table grapes. Table grapes are what you can eat, and then there are wine
Yeah.
grapes which are less sweeter, and they are used for wine specifically. And I think even in India we don't really have, I mean, we know that like there's Kaveri Valley, and like Nasik is recognized as a region, but there's no proper like geographic indication as such. We don't have appellations
Yeah.
in India as of now, and even the concept of an appellation is still, I don't think it exists at all. I mean, America has AVAs, but we don't have our own. So I think even as a product, to market it as a wine based product, you kind of fail, because we don't really have dedicated wine regions. And so it does make sense. And so what is the science actually behind the gum in anti-inflammation exactly, in terms of this? Like, you are talking about these terms, but just to understand, like, okay, so if I, what if someone says that, well, can I just drink wine and still have these benefits? Like, why do I need it in a concentrated format to have it as as an ointment? Like, so maybe in terms of the science behind it, if you could explain, that would be great.
I'll start with how we get the gum diseases, like, what's how it starts.
Okay, sure.
So there are bacteria, microorganisms present.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have pathogens that
Mm-hmm.
cause accumulate, colonize near our gums, and then they
Mm-hmm.
weaken the structure, right? These
Mm-hmm.
bacteria, what the polyphenols do is they kill those bacteria,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the job of polyphenol. And because there is bacteria there, it's causing the disease. If the disease is caused, that it means there's inflammation going on. You can see the redness, you will see the swelling, because the bacteria are multiplying. That's what's happening there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So antimicrobial, and then when those pathogenic bacteria are there, they are going to show their signs. So the signs are the inflammation or the bleeding of gums. So we need to stop that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I just use, because So it originated because France was destroying wine, and I was like, what could I do with this surplus wine? That's what
Okay.
I.
So just to
That's
go off
why.
on a little sidetrack, what we're talking about wine consumption and surplus, and France isn't really destroying wine, but rather, I'm sure France's heart is also breaking, and many other countries are also breaking their hearts, having to replace vineyards with olive trees or apple trees or other kinds of horticulture, because of the fact that the overall consumption around the globe has reduced significantly, at least by 15%, according to the OIV, which is the International Organization of Wine. And since the pandemic, the general perception or the demographic which used to collect wine is now reaching 70, 80. So they're having their own health problems. And the newer generations or the younger generations, they think that why should I spend so much money in this bottle? Like, what's the point of it? And the style of long aging wines is no longer relevant in an instant gratification world right now, and people are changing and having to adapt into more instantly or rather readily drinkable wine, which you can maybe perhaps age for maybe 2 years, 3 years, maximum 5 years, but the waiting game has become much more shorter now. And
Yeah.
therefore, overall around the globe, the people are having to diversify their produce and not just focus on fruit of grapes, but also maybe some people are going into honey, some people are going into olive oil. So this, and what ends up happening is that a lot of these hectares which are already overproducing but underselling, then what can be done with all this surplus production? And I think
Exactly.
what you've done is completely genius, and I don't know how your 14-year-old self even imagined that this could be a phenomenon and probably wasn't even aware of it. And now, and once you entered France and you arrived, you must have thought that, oh my God, this is like amazing. Like, so that's pretty cool. And thank you for making us understand like the nature of bacteria and what it's causing a problem with for any person. I and as a wine industry professional or as a agricultural student or just for curiosity, would I not have these existing benefits of antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties if I consume wine moderately? Because wine
You
is
would.
also, alcohol is a blood thinner, and it's usually, especially anthocyanins are known for, and antioxidant properties. But just curious, like if I had a glass of wine for naturally keeping myself healthy and getting exposed to these benefits in moderation versus dealing with it in a concentrated formula. So, could you perhaps compare that and just
Yeah.
explain to us why the need for a concentrated formula exists? And is it more beneficial, and how so, if it is?
Okay. So again, this question was asked to me by my jury during my defense. So
Okay.
it asked me like, what if I just drink my wine?
Wow, wonderful.
It arises from like, Indians don't drink wine, right? We don't have
Hmm.
that culture. And
It
I
is
was
still
like,
not an openly celebrated culture. We are trying to build on it.
still an ongoing process and it's a
Mm.
long way to go, but we'll get there. So my like the two problems that I had in mind was France was spending over like let's say around 200 million euros to destroy 80 plus million gallons of wine.
Whew.
Indians don't drink wine, but 58% of Indians have gingival problems. So
Okay.
two of my questions, like my problem statements were those.
Wow.
And then I could see, and then so how could I make them drink it? Or
Hmm.
how can I make it therapeutic while saving our wine and the
True,
climate?
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, wow, okay.
So that's how, like, it's nothing out of the box or ordinary. There are
No,
so many
actually,
foods that,
sometimes the answer is right in front of you, but the fact that you were able to understand the Indian consumer or just any non-wine drinking person, let's just, I mean, since we're based in India, or your ointment and the origin of your product is based in India, I'm going to be addressing India constantly. But But that's absolutely true, and I think that's been a very intelligently researched niche that you've made, to actually understand the psyche behind, okay, there is an existing problem, but maybe instead of having a chemically induced solution and creating further problems, rather try and see what you already have and how you can give another life and another byproduct to another industry and connect a solution. And this was amazing. Like, I'm constantly mind blown. Even when you were just telling me, I was just like, wow. And here we are still fighting over, who knows more about this country, who knows more about this law, and there's this whole industry waiting for you. And a lot of, just for the audience, a lot of horticulture students, agricultural students, also based from India, also enter, biotechnology students also enter into wine programs as well, if you weren't aware, mainly because they didn't find interest in the career opportunities that they had.
Yeah.
And I think wine production, or just the consumption of wine, or the business and trade of wine, actually generates so much employment, and it has so much potential. And I'm so glad that you're pioneering in this path. And I just wanted to appreciate that you understood the psyche so well. And since I can't make them drink it, so why not make an ointment or a serum?
Yeah, so I had an ulterior motive because at some point they're gonna be like, I'll just drink it, you know.
Exactly,
Why would I buy
exactly.
a medicine? Because I'll just drink it.
True,
It's
true.
the same thing.
Absolutely. But
And
also,
then the
it comes with
emotion.
affordability as well. I mean, I'm sure wines are, at the end of the day, it's meant to be a social, it's more socially known. If no one really drinks whiskey, for example, for health benefits, I'm sure there are some grain based benefits that some scientist, hopefully, after you, there will be a scientist in gin distillery, in whiskey distillery, also trying to discover other kinds of products. But this whole idea of recycling and upcycling, and it's quite sustainable, that what you're doing
Yeah.
is making a product that's affordable and effective, and in the long run more, a healthier option, let's say, or
Yeah.
absorption to the body. That's
Yeah.
really impeccable, Ishita. I don't
There
know
was like
how you came up with this, but I'm so glad. And this just opened up so many avenues to, I mean, think of, like,
yeah,
you need laboratory technicians, you need organic chemistry students, you need agriculture,
you need
horticulture
people from
students, you'll need,
pharmaceutical background, you know.
you'll just need like a small land that's dedicatedly growing, the varieties with high polyphenols for this
Yeah.
product. Like, you would it's amazing. And if it's really really cool. So what's your vision for this product, and how do you see it really benefiting? And um, we're still talking about wine medicine now, and it's so
Yeah.
cool.
We can
So
always bring it back, right? The ancient
yeah.
notion of wine as a medicine. And you know what my biggest challenge was here when I was talking
Please,
about this?
please.
Um, but wine has alcohol. How can you give something that has alcohol? What if people drink it? The mouthwash that I made. What if they consume
Oh,
it? It's very like there's nothing. It's completely naturally made.
but
It's not
almost
synthetic,
aren't
right?
almost disinfectants. I mean, alcohol on its own, in terms of
Yeah,
its
but
organic,
alcohol
it's
has
it's
its
a natural disinfectant, right?
yeah, but alcohol has its side effects. The mouthwash that we have today, the alcohol-based ones, they cause burning, they cause skin irritations.
Hmm.
I wanted to eliminate those things as well.
Oh, thank God you did that, because honestly, like, because when I had been diagnosed with like hypothyroid, like it inculcated a lot of bad breath, and I would constantly be so conscious and use mouthwash, but I just couldn't do it because it constantly burnt. It literally
Yeah,
was like putting acid in my mouth, no matter how much I diluted it. And I've also noticed that it never comes with instructions on how much you need to put. Like,
yeah,
some people say just a little cap, some people say put a whole cap, like, and the stronger something is, the more effective it is. Like, that's not what it is. And I
yeah,
love
yeah.
how you're bringing this Indian medicine perspective through, and understanding a consumer's problem, and how do we address that. Like, this, I feel like this should be a whole second episode altogether.
Like there's
But
so much
bringing
that could
back
come out
medieval
of this.
medicine, it's
There's so much that could
amazing.
come out of this, you know. Like I still get, suggestions from my team, my
Hmm.
research back. the one who with my guides, like, can we do this? We could do this. We could use wine here and make
Wow.
an excellent
That's so
product.
amazing. I
So I
remember.
so it's like, and then the other big issue was, but wine stains your teeth. So how are you gonna use it? The
Hmm.
biggest issue. Now that you're using wine in the way that you are.
True, true, because anthocyanins are very strong pigmentation, and that's what gives the color to the wine as well. So,
So the directions for that is in the patent, so cannot disclose it right away, but that problem is solved too.
okay, interesting, interesting.
So what we are waiting on right now is for the clinical trials. So
Hmm. So, hey,
animal
any
studies would be
volunteers
in the
trying
big
to,
part.
anyone who has uncles or aunts with gingivitis or gum issues, please contact Ishita, and if they're willing to have be part of this medical discovery.
And I also wanted to make it sustainable.
Hmm.
We have studied so much sustainability in our second semester in Italy, and
No,
I was
and
like, it's a
of
lot of
course we
information
have
content.
studied it, but also I think more and more we're becoming more aware, and we're seeing the results of the ignorance of not being sustainable.
Yeah.
The effects are showing up quite early on, and it. I remember studying it in school and thinking, oh, recycling is it's such far away, but like almost what a decade later, it's like, oh my God, like we really need to focus on
So
this.
I also wanted to have something that had low carbon footprint, and keep
Mm.
it simple and just put it in a way like it's right in front of our face. We don't have to complicate it that much.
I know, I know. Sometimes the biggest issues are right in front of us, and I think just these barriers of prejudice that, oh, I mean, hoteliers are used to drinking wine, non-hoteliers can't, or rich people need to drink wine, they can't. Wine is a woman's drink, or the general mass population or the mass opinion is that, wine is because
You don't
alcohol
get
or
drunk on it.
drinking is used like I can't say this better, but I will translate this. But like, I have to say this in Hindi. अगर चढ़ती नहीं है तो फायदा क्या है?
Exactly.
So, like, that's
It
the
doesn't hit.
genuine.
You don't get drunk on it. Like,
So if you can't get drunk on alcohol, then what's the point of alcohol? This is the general
exactly.
concept, and I've spoken to many of my uncles, and when as I was also trying to discover what I could do with my learning and education and what kind of opportunities I have back home, they said that, yeah, the most important, like the basic idea that anyone has is that a wine shop is basically an alcohol shop in India. A wine shop is an alcohol shop. And the funniest thing is they'll have some religious name in front of it and then wine shop, like Durga wines. Like
Yeah.
and then they say that it's taboo, it's alcohol, it's against our ethos, it's against our ideology. Like you have Durga wines, bro. Like you have a goddess's name and wine shop, and wine
Yeah.
shop is where you'll get everything except
It's
actual
wine.
wine. You'll get every other alcohol except wine. So
Yeah.
that is something that also needs to be addressed.
And
And the general talk is also that if you don't get drunk out, if you don't get into a drunk state, then there's no point in buying that
I,
product.
I got drunk on wine.
I know,
So
and a lot of
this
people think that, and the general idea is that wine is for people who can't handle alcohol. And I'm just like, this was the general, like, I just did a casual survey. Like, I was just bringing the topic up because I've also started kind of, in the beginning, we had multiple names of what kind of a master's I was doing. But now I think I've just accepted it and I've stopped trying to seek validation. Whether somebody else accepts my success or not, it's none of my business. Whether
yeah,
I am feeling comfortable, whether I am thriving, whether I am able to bring this into another platform and make people just make them aware that this is what wine
exactly.
has to offer, and you're just judging it just because of what you saw on film, TV, media. It's not
Do
it's
you also get these questions a lot? Because I do. That now what are you going to do? Are you going to open a shop? So
Oh
people
my
have this okay,
goodness.
so now that you're studying wine,
Oh
you're
my
just
God,
gonna
you won't believe this, Ashita. Like you won't believe this. So my mom recently had some interactions, and my parents also finally understood. And I'm so glad there was this Telugu movie that recently released with Sharvanand, and I don't remember the name of the film, but it has actors Sharvanand and I think Kriti Shetty, and basically the guy, he seems like a chill person. He's running a restaurant and having a chill vibe, and then his the plot line goes that his best friend kind of meet with an accident, and the child is orphaned. So he's a godparent, and then she's the godmother, and he's the godfather, and that's how they both end up interacting. And all this while they are fighting for the custody, and she's obviously more responsible. She's taken a career path. She's a doctor, and the court is deciding, the court of UK is deciding, to give the child to her, but he also feels the need to be able to prove himself. And then one day, and then they're like, what is he doing, what is he doing? And then he finally says that I am studying enology or eunology, which is basically from the term uno tourism or enotourism, which is basically the scientific term for wine specifically, and it derives from the bacteria Onococcus oni. And finally, my mom has been able to, and my dad have been able to say that, oh, she did a Master of Science in enology. And a lot of people were like, okay, so what will she do? What will she do? What will
Yeah.
she do? What will she do? Is she gonna come and set up wine now? Is she gonna force people to drink alcohol? Is she gonna change us? Is she gonna what's the word? Is she gonna violate our traditions? Is she gonna violate? And I'm just like, I
Exactly.
am so sick and tired of
It's
all of
just
this.
that prejudice, like we are just gonna open a wine shop, like you said, Durga wine
Yeah,
shop,
like
and we are gonna
they
sell
act
it.
as if
No.
we're gonna, like, hold them by the collar and be like, you better drink this, and
Yeah.
accept it like that. I mean, it's just so funny and hilarious, and I laugh so much at this, and it just amuses me. But once she interacted, and my mom was also able to communicate that, and I'm so proud, and I have to say this, that she's been my constant support, and she was the one who funded my entire master's degree as well. So without her, I wouldn't be here. And my mom, like, she then also educated them, and now that I'm able to be feel more confident, and they finally saw the success that I saw, or what I am aiming for. They were able to confidently say that, what she's studying is a subject that is very well known around the world, but perhaps in India it is still very, like, it's a micro niche, very few people will know. But if people who are aware of this concept, they will understand. And so the interaction happened where a few people were questioning what is she going to do, and they had no idea. But the minute she interacted with someone and they said, oh wow, really, is she doing that? And then that's when everyone around the room was like, okay, so interesting. So it's
So that
like
was
you
my
need to be
dad's
so well
question.
traveled, and you need to be so, like, aware. And if people are constantly stuck in their bubbles, it's not going to happen. So let's, that's what Da Vinci Code is about. It's about breaking barriers, bridging perceptions, bursting those bubbles,
Yeah,
and let's uncork bottles and uncork wine. Oh my God.
yeah. So I can
Um,
relate because my dad was the same. When I introduced it to him, he didn't understand, but then he started doing his own research, and then he came to me, "Do you know this person? He's doing this thing in wine," and like that was my dad was my biggest cheerleader. He still is, and
wow.
he still goes about stuff. Okay, this is the new thing that's going in the industry now. Do you know
Hmm.
that?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I can totally
Yeah, my,
relate.
my
And
parents now keep sharing things, and I think they really didn't understand what I was trying to do before I joined the
yeah,
program, and they still didn't understand. But one trip to Georgia, oh my God, thank God that they went. So now, like, once both me and my brother were out of the house and they had more time in their hands, they were exploring, and they visited Georgia, and their tour guide was a winemaker. So she took them to her home, and she showed, like, okay, this is our vineyard, this is what we
yeah.
do. And that's when they actually visually saw that,
Understood.
oh my
Yeah,
God, so this is what, our daughter wants to do, this is what she is aiming for. Since then it really changed, and they've been more supportive. And even now, it's I've always been a problem child. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's always been a black sheep situation. So
yeah.
uh,
I can
but
relate
but
because
having their support is important, and I think building that community is more important. And I'm sure there are many others who are struggling to explain their career choices, and having you on this podcast has liberated that barrier. So thank you so much for coming. um, is there
thank
any advice, or what message would you like to give out to the industry? Both, I mean, just your final parting message, and if people have more questions about your product, or if they would like to be a part of your project, how can they contact you, and what would be your parting message, Ishita?
So, my parting message would be to change your narrative from wine as an alcohol to grapes as a functional agriculture resource, especially in a country like India. And then the entire growth curve would change,
Absolutely.
right? So, and if they want to be a part of my project, they could contact me through my email,
Mm-hmm.
ishishi14h@gmail.com, or through my Instagram, Dr. Ishita H. So those are two of my.
And it's amazing that and someone like you who's come from medicine to now creating medieval medicine, or reviving medieval medicine, that is wine. I think people should not be afraid to try new things. And I mean, you can say it yourself, like, what would you like to say about the challenges, or the what was your mantra that worked for you, and what would you give as a fun
So I
encouragement?
come from a place like my biggest challenge was perception, internal and external both. Medicine was seen as a very linear, secure path. So when I stepped into wine, it raised eyebrows. Like, what is she doing? But I think you just have to talk with the people, your parents mostly, because those are the people who would influence your decisions and things like this. You just have to sit with them and you talk to them, you explain it to them. And genuinely, I think parents can see your passion. They are not your enemies. You don't have to be scared of them, like, oh, but I cannot have this. Like, make them sit if they are not talking. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. And
Fight
I
for
mean,
what
they
you
did
want.
that to us
Like, fight for
when
it.
they
Like,
were
I didn't
teaching
have
us.
to, but fight for it. Like, it's your life and you are going to regret it if you don't. Like, I had regretted it had I not taken the thesis that I had taken, because I would have always wondered, like, would this have worked?
Absolutely.
So even if it didn't work at the end of my thesis, I would not have been disappointed because I tried. I did what I could.
I'm so happy you said that, because one of the biggest things that, before obviously going abroad, you have to consider living expenses, the visa process. It's not just, okay, I want to go do something. And holding an Indian passport, you have certain limitations as well. Like, there's so many barriers. And if you're deciding to go abroad, this idea of don't return a failure, don't, you have to make the most of it, you have to hit the ball out
Yeah.
of the park. But I wasn't even sure if I was going to hit the ball out of the park. I mean, I'm still in the nets practicing. Meri net practice chal rahi hai abhi bhi. So it's, but I think I have to thank my brother, because he kind of sat them down and made them understand that, mom and dad, there was a time where India didn't even know about McDonald's and KFC,
Yeah.
or Domino's. And now almost everybody knows what an aloo tikki is, makalo tikki is.
Yeah.
So, just because your daughter is doing something that people around you are not aware, it's your job to educate yourself first and then educate others. Because there's no
Yeah.
way in that everyone's going to, this is not going to be an easy journey. And as a family, I think we've really had that as a challenge, just to justify constantly that, what, this is success. But just because you are not able to see it or measure it, or see how the outcome will be, or you're not
Yeah.
able to project it. But I would argue that it's good that you're not able to project it, because the scalability of it is endless, it's infinite.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
uh, and
And it's
having
there.
you,
It's not invisible. It's there. Just because you
it's
can't see it, it doesn't mean
exactly. And I
yeah.
just wish people kind of zoomed out of this, prejudice about alcohol, and just kind of
Yeah.
zoomed out a little bit. And that's the idea behind this podcast. And after meeting you, and thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm so honored and privileged to be able to,
No, it's my
have
honor,
interacted with you. And not just as a friend, but also as a colleague, and someone who really is also, pioneering and creating a whole new career opportunity for both medical and wine professionals together.
Yeah.
and hitting two birds with one stone, as they say. And it's amazing, and I wish you good luck. And I'm so happy that having you there in the master program, it made me feel less alone. That it
Mm.
wasn't like, why was this struggle so important, why was this fight so important, why was this journey so important.
I
And
think
it
everything
felt
came into
like, why am I
full
doing
circle
this?
now.
And seeing someone else also go through similar challenges. And as much as you say that you are being exposed, but what hits home. It's like finding an Indian restaurant in a foreign country. So like,
Exactly.
you are my Indian restaurant in a foreign country. And I'm so
Yeah.
happy. And so, are you planning to come back to France anytime soon?
I don't know. I don't want to stay in India, that's for sure.
Okay.
We'll take it from there.
Okay.
Right now, I just want to stay with my family, like
Okay.
spend some time.
I'm just excited to
Was my
see the
option.
next opportunity to meet you, and
Oh,
we
I
can.
do have a next episode for you. I have something interesting coming on if you want, but
Absolutely, you're more than welcome. Like, I mean, you just saying yes in the first time. Like, I appreciate everyone who've said yes in the first go.
that's how we all grow together, right?
Yeah,
That's how it should be.
and I
Ideally.
that's the idea. Like, we're supposed to grow together. There's no one
Yeah.
way to grow.
Yeah.
There's no one way to measure, and nature
It's
has
not a
always
one-man
been.
army anymore. It's not a
Yeah, I
one-man
mean, this
army.
cookie cutter
We can't do
mindset needs
it.
to change, and that's the idea behind the Da Vinci Code. And thank you so much for being there and for being a constant support. And definitely, there's going to be an episode two for sure. I'm sure I'm going to have so
I
many
do have
questions
something
after this
coming in
episode.
for you, so definitely. And I would just like to remind everyone, like, everything starts here. Like, once it's here and you're able to translate that passion, I think every door is going to open. There's nothing that's not going to open. You
Yeah,
think this is hard, you think your parents are not going to allow, you think this is expensive. It works out. You just have to believe and take that step. It works out. It worked out for me because I didn't have neither. I didn't have the
absolutely.
financial support. I had to start from ground, putting on the field work, but I was so adamant about it that my dad researches things now and tells people he's so proud of me of the things I'm doing and studying, and he
And it's nice to
cheers
hear that
me.
validation from your parents sometimes. And
Exactly.
not that we
Just
need
go
it,
for
but
it.
it's always nice to be there.
Yeah,
And
so that's why we
as
could relate, because we have this similar, story kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. I and and I'm
Relationship.
and I had so much fun. And how did you feel?
I
This
had
whole
so much
episode.
fun. I had so much fun, and I was getting goosebumps, and I was emotional when I was talking about my project because it's so close to my heart and
True.
my child. So yes, so one.
I'm really glad, and I'm so
I
happy
can't
that this
there's got so
exchange.
much emotions going on, but I'm so happy to see you doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Ishita. And I feel like our collective efforts are there. And I hope that this episode broadens and bridges more people and welcomes more people to bring their ideas. Thank you so much, Dr. Rishita Hajare, for being a wine doctor. Hopefully, a future wine medicine will open up many more avenues. And I hope that, many agricultural universities and medical universities, the way we have pharmaceutical universities, there should be, wine medicine as a course altogether. And I think this is going to change the industry completely. And as a fellow Shah Rukh Khan fan to another, I would just like to end this podcast by saying that पूरे दिल से किसी चीज को शिद्दत से चाहो तो पूरी कायनातों से तुम्हें मिलाने की कोशिश करती है. And I hope that all your dreams get manifested. And hopefully, I am looking forward to you being a dean of a wine medical school.
Oh, no, no, no. We have to start very slow. We just have to start collaborating with researchers and doctors first.
Like you
But there's
said,
no
it's
only
all up here. It's
collaborating.
all up here. So let's just let's just put it out there. It might just come back. Who knows? Who knows
Let's just start
which
baking people.
audience might connect with us. So thank you so much for being with us and sharing. And I'm thank you for the opportunity to share and tell your story. And to the audience, thank you very much for being here. And for more wine stories, stay tuned to the Da Vinci Code podcast.